What is going on, guys? Samuel from Samuel Productions here, back with another ranking video. And it's been a while since I've done a ranking video on the franchise, so I'm going to try and go back to do more of those videos. But for today's ranking video, I am going to rank every game so far in the Life is Strange franchise. This includes, of course, the original game, Before the Storm, and screw down with Captain Spirit here as well, even though it's a very short game. The second one, True Colors, and Double Exposure, which of course came out very recently. Again, for those who don't know, this is a franchise that I hold near and dear to my heart. I'll definitely get more into why when it comes about these games, but I absolutely adore this franchise. So I figured I do a few Life is Strange videos that I've always wanted to do. Well, in this video, I'm going to do a few other videos where I'm going to rank all the chapters in Life is Strange. I'm going to talk about my favorite characters and talk about my general favorite moments in this franchise. And maybe do a few other little one-offs here and there, but those are the main ones I'm going to be uploading as well, so again, expect those coming away in the coming weeks. So this one, again, I'm going to be ranking all of the video games, every single game in this franchise ranked. Again, but I hope you'll enjoy this ranking. Again, I don't think any game in this franchise actually is downright bad, honestly, just to give a heads up. But I still hope you'll enjoy this video. Let me know what your ranking would be done. Also, let me know your thoughts on Double Exposure in general, which of course is a game that came out very recently. So, all being said, let's talk about some Life is Strange. Now, like I said before, I don't think any game in this series is bad. I don't think any game in this series is a bad one. But of course, there's always that one game that always has to be last place. And also clarify, I have replayed all of these games. I have played through all these games, so they are definitely still fresh in my mind. So coming in last place for me at number 6 is Life is Strange Before the Storm. And I won't lie, my opinion kind of went down on this game actually on replay. Like, it's probably the only game where I think my opinion kind of went down a little bit. But also clarify, I do think it's still a solid game. It's one I can probably still play and enjoy anytime, honestly. But it's probably the one I might do that the least to, honestly. It's a solid game. It does do a great job with how like Chloe is as a character. I mean, it does kind of portray her worst aspects as a character, I'm not gonna lie. But it still did a good job of still making you feel connected to her. It actually make you feel you're still invested in this character despite her shitty actions throughout the story, and we'll get into those. We'll talk about the original game, but they did a really good job of still make her feel a little more interesting and knowing what she was going through throughout what happened throughout the events before Max came back and after she ended up leaving. It kind of like fills that gap between, and you can tell she's kind of still struggling and still dealing with a lot. Oh, it doesn't too still such does in this game, but it's on the main character, and you get some solid supporting characters like Mikey and Steph. I think are probably the best supporting characters. And it's pretty interesting, man, to bring like Steph of all people into True Colors makes them more well-developed character, which again we'll get into Steph when we talk about True Colors. Being in the first game, I actually thought she was actually a pretty solid character. You also get some nice relationships between certain characters as well. You know, you also get these like, and you also still get those nice moments between her and her mom, and you even get some moments we end up talking to Chloe's dad. And those are some of the most emotional moments in the game. It still works good graphically. The voice acting is really well done. It still had some really good, charming, emotional moments. But I think my overall big issue with Before the Storm, and it's probably like a lot of people had issue with this game, is that, well, despite the fact that obviously but it is a prequel. It is a prequel to the original game. And it does end up having the biggest sins of prequels, and kind of explain like what makes prequels kind of detested, honestly. I honestly detested, but now it's actually the most well received. And Before the Storm kind of exemplifies that to the freaking T. Mainly because there's relationships that you feel like, really? They were together at the time? Like, shouldn't this person not know that person at the time? Like, wait, they actually know that person? And of course, the biggest thing that ends up answering questions about things that we didn't want answered, and of course, brings the mystique of certain elements, most notably Rachel Amber. Again, I also think she's a bad character by any means, honestly. I still like her relationship with Chloe, which is obviously the main focal point of this game, and exploring the relationship between Chloe and Rachel. But again, Rachel Amber was kind of a very mysterious character in the original game, and this one of those few instances was like, you should probably keep that a mystery. Again, she's not a bad kid by any means, obviously, and I still like the relationship, even though it can feel pretty rushed at times, especially in episode 2. But yeah, they probably should have kept that mystery and also and Ben like Chloe like knew this character apparently and knew that character apparently, and how they and like again it also causes a lot of plot holes. Which again I actually don't mind plot holes, but this is a case where it's like yeah, that's not really a good sign. Good sign. Again, some elements of being pretty rushed at times. Characters that just there are even some characters, some of the new characters that end up doing like a big 180, and most only one character in episode 3 that ends up doing a big 180 out of nowhere. You also get some very unrealistic moments in this game that are just gonna go, really? And the ones that you end up being extremely over the top. And again, and it's not a case where I think and it's always been my biggest issue with a majority of these games, and that the ending kind of makes me feel to me your choices don't really matter. Again, I feel like I don't never have an issue with it, honestly, though I can understand why that'd be an issue for some people. Yeah, I acknowledge that. But it's about the worst example of that, honestly. It is a prequel, honestly. I think there's some moments that are just way too over the top for my liking, especially with the backtalk mechanic, which I've never been huge on, honestly. But again, but again, it's not a bad game. I still think it's a solid game. It's still an enjoyable experience thanks to the characters, thanks to the emotional moments that happen, especially in episode 1 and in episode 2. Like, there are some generally good moments on this game that do end up saving it, and you do actually get at least a little bit insight on certain characters on who they were after the game, like we know with Frank. But again, it is probably the worst example of prequels, in my opinion, and that's why it is probably the length the lowest of all of these games. And now we get to number 5 and number 4, as obviously, spoilers, I'm talking about both Captain Spirit and Life is Strange 2. Now, to like Captain Spirit, I would say Captain Spirit probably would be number 5, honestly. I do think it is a better quality game, but it is just a very short game that obviously just leads it into the events of Life is Strange 2, so I think it wouldn't be fair to rank above Life is Strange 2, I do think it's honestly much better quality than that game, honestly, which is pretty unfortunate. But Captain Spirit, I think, is a pretty solid game that makes you feel connected to Chris, and has some pretty touching moments that can happen throughout the game. And then we get to Life is Strange 2, which, again, it's a game I never really knew how to feel about, honestly. It's probably a definition of a game where I feel very conflicted on certain elements. But again, I do think it's a good game, honestly. I definitely enjoyed a little bit more on this replay, and this is probably my second time I replayed through the game ever since the episodes came out. And I think the best thing about this game is probably the relationship between Sean and Daniel. And I do have my issues with Daniel, mostly because of how much of an asshole he can be at times. Like, I know he's a kid, obviously, but he's still doing all these powers, but sometimes he just ends up becoming too unlikable and too irritating. So at the same time, it can be very relatable, obviously, if you had these powers and you went through this whole situation. But there are some moments of like, okay, calm down a bit, man, calm down. Episode 3 especially is probably the worst example of that. But the relationship between Sean and Daniel as a whole is one I really liked. It's I feel actually kind of mirrors my relationship with my own brother, honestly. And you get some pretty touching moments throughout the scene. You get some nice good metaphors that actually tie into stuff pretty well, actually. Actually, you get some nice solid choices throughout the game. Again, this is probably the only game in the series where you actually can have like true multiple endings. Not saying the other games don't have multiple endings, but this is a game that probably has the most ones, honestly. And it all really depends on how you treat Daniel throughout the game. And all of it really depends on how you treat Daniel throughout the game, and the choices that you made throughout the game, which I really admire, actually. And it doesn't add replay value, actually. Like, you do get some solid relationships throughout the story. Most only Sean's relationship with his father, that's a pretty well-known one. You actually get some pretty shocking moments, actually, throughout the game, obviously. I think my only big issue with the game is that there are some characters, it does have a lot of good characters, but some that end up just coming and going, honestly. Like, there's some that are just in one episode and you never see or hear from them again. It's like, man, I wish I could see more of that character. Because they end up being a bit more one-dimensional, and you kind of wish you could see them more, but yeah, it makes the storyline can be pretty scattered, and the pacing can be kind of off at times as well, because of that. And it can feel a bit heavy-handed at times, mostly when it comes to the political stuff, honestly, and I'm not really huge on political stuff, honestly. I refuse to talk about it at all, honestly. And there's some moments that you can feel really in your face, especially in the finale episode. Like, yeesh. But not just political stuff, like, there's some messages and stuff that can feel a bit in your face, and like, we get it. And of course, it still has some same over-the-top moments as well that I really did enjoy from Bolt Storm. But absolutely, it's a good game, obviously. The only reason I'm ranking it above kept the spear because, well, obviously it's his own thing. I think the spoiler rate probably would be actually much higher when I ranked all the chapters. So I think it's fair to put number 5 and then Life is Strange 2 at number 4. So I do think Life is Strange 2 is still a really good game. It just doesn't reach the emotional highs and has some pacing issues and some storytelling issues with certain characters and give you a pretty heavy-handed. But I still like Legend of Shell, I still like some of the supporting characters, and I definitely did have the most emotional endings out of any of these games. And now we of course get to the 3 main games in this franchise, of course the original True Colors and Double Exposure, which of course, yes, I consider being in whole high regard. And to make fair, at number 3, I'm gonna go with the most recent game, and that is Double Exposure. Because I actually did just recently beat the game a second time, honestly, and yeah, I think Double Exposure is another fantastic game in this series. The game I wasn't sure, I was definitely excited for, obviously. I was in karaoke, I thought, holy shit, a new Life is Strange game? Holy shit, Max Caulfield's returning! Because I'm just gonna ask away. Max Caulfield is my favorite character of all time. I love Max Caulfield. Like, she's definitely my spirit animal, honestly, in terms of how awkward she can be and just how relatable she is as a character. Like, I absolutely adore her. So I'm excited when they actually going to have her be returned, and I'm happy to say that she probably has her best portrayal at all in any of the games, honestly. In terms of how they portray the character, how much she develops throughout the story, what she goes through throughout the game, and her relationships. And you can tell what she went through in the original game really affected her so much. And you just really do feel for her for a majority of the experience. And like, best way I can describe Double Exposure is that it's basically just what you expect from Life is Strange game at this point, which, honestly, for me, that's not a bad thing. That is not a bad thing at all. That is not a bad thing. Just if you play some Life is Strange games, you kind of know what to expect, whether it be from the plot twist, whether it be from how the games are structured, what you expect from the final chapter, what you can expect from certain elements, especially with the mystery and snooping in and wanting to know this and that and everything, and like, and some weird moment and some awkward weird moments. Like, it kind of has what you expect. But again, not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. Like, would I want a little bit of a surprise? Probably, yeah, but it still hits all the beats and still hits them incredibly well. Well, you get some stories that actually do feel like they do have major importance. You do get some pretty good solid supporting characters, and while I don't know if that's going to end up being memorable in the grand scheme of Life is Strange characters, they end up becoming pretty good characters, with of course Sophie and Amanda and even Moses being actually very standout characters. Some maybe a bit more one-note than others, but I still enjoyed them well enough. The mystery was actually pretty engaging. I really didn't want to know what was going to happen next. I was definitely invested in what was going to happen throughout. And there actually were a couple things that did actually surprise me, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I did kind of predict certain elements that could happen, but there were a couple like, oh, okay. Like, you get a lot of that crazy tense moments that you expect from this franchise, like some ones that just get like, make you feel so tense, and but you get that very charming, relatable. You also have those very charming, relatable aspects. And overall, I did enjoy the dual timeline aspect of this game, where you go through like different timelines, trying to solve this like big murder mystery that happened. Again, obviously not gonna get into details of what happens in the story, obviously, since it's a very recent game. I'm not one to just say like, hey, this happened, hey, that happened, you see this happened, and all that stuff. Like, I'm not like that, obviously. But overall, I was invested in the murder mystery of what was going on. I was really curious on how this and that was going to play out. And you also get that great humor out of a Life is Strange game. I imagine it has the most beautiful graphics out of any of the Life is Strange franchise. Like, it has the most beautiful graphics out of any of the Life is Strange games, but the graphics are just breath-freaking-taking. Holy shit, the graphics are beautiful. Beautiful! And you also get like, and also another thing I've always loved in this game is always the music. The music is just so trancing and incredible. And just so immersive, honestly, and like leads her into the story. Hell, I listened to a lot of songs of the original soundtrack to this day ever since I played it. And this game is probably no exception, obviously. Now, there's really not any reason why it's only 3, just like it's probably the most recent game. Like, hell, it could have jumped up one spot, honestly, the more I play, honestly. But as right now, it just, again, the only really negative I really have in this game is that it has what you expect from a Life is Strange game, and that might be a good or bad thing depending on who you talk to. Not too obviously, and maybe some elements could have been paced better, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe a couple sections could have definitely been paced better. But even then, I didn't really feel like I was bored. I felt like the game was too long, obviously. It's just I feel like a couple elements that could have been handled a little bit better in terms of the pacing. And that happens sometimes. But as a whole, Double Exposure was a game that really made me feel happy and made me feel so good. And I can honestly see this game. Honestly, like a lot of these games franchise, I can see it really growing on me. Like I already love the game as it is, but I can see it still growing on me. Again, I can still have it back in my mind. Honestly, we'll see how it goes. But as of right now, I think number 3 is the perfect spot for Double Exposure. And now we get to my number 2, and that is True Colors. Hey, I don't know how excited I was for True Colors when it came out in 2021. Yeah, it was so good. I ended up doing the game entirely in one day. I ended up being 3 episodes, 1 stream, and then thought, screw it, let's just give the other 2 chapters. And I did. And I was still blown away. I played this game very recently, like I mentioned, and I'm still blown away by this game. And it does stuff a little bit differently than a typical Life is Strange game, but it's not what you expect, obviously. Like, Alex Shen, I think, is an incredible character. Yeah, again, they always do a great job making the main characters very relatable and very ones you can connect to. As, again, someone that feels like she's a fuck up, that feels like that she's not doing much right, or doesn't know how to interact sometimes. Like, I seem to always connect with those characters, because that's kind of me in a way. I feel like I'm getting kind of a bit awkward at times, so yeah, I totally relate to that. But you also get a great string of supporting characters as well. Well, like what we've seen of Gabe from, because of what we've seen from Gabe, as his brother, he was a very charming character. Ryan has great moments, a lot more charming than you actually expect someone to be. And then of course you got characters like Riley, Ethan, Charlotte, like a lot of great supporting characters. Eleanor is a great one, Ducky, and the characters that I feel like might be a bit antagonistic and they're becoming very interesting characters the more you think about it. But personally, my favorite one is actually Stephanie from, who again appears from Before the Storm. Again, I've always liked Steph, but this game really transcends her to being, in my opinion, an all-time great character. And just how hilarious she is, how charming her character she is, and her relationships with other characters. Like this game we can actually have romance between 2 characters and this, like one thing I hear Steph is an incredible character, and they really actually build her from the Storm. They're kind of hinting at what she has been through after Before the Storm, after the course what happened in Arcadia Bay. Hell, Dean released a DLC episode called Wavelengths where they actually explore what she's been through, and that makes her, and that, in my opinion, really cements her as an all-time great character, because they explore her trauma and what she's been through, her emotions, and it's like, and all she's been through is just so relatable. Yeah. Not to mention, this probably the only Life is Strange game I think is actually the most well-paced in the franchise. Like, you get that what I notice in all the final chapters, there's always like one portion where you kind of can feel the pacing a little bit, but it's not like boring or anything. There's moments like, yeah, maybe we can get going a little bit faster, please. That's what I got noticed with all the final chapters, honestly. When I said double exposures, I'll say double exposures, and I would say double exposures probably the only, not only like. Probably the only final chapter I think is well based all the way through. But it doesn't make it bad or anything. You still get some pretty emotional moments, and you get some good moments that actually make you feel like in a way your choices did matter. But you can get some pretty shocking emotional moments, especially at the end of episode 1, and pretty much the end of a lot of the episodes you get some pretty shocking moments. And even a couple that might just be a little predictable, but but you know, they're still pretty emotional moments. You get some pretty emotional scenes, some fantastic voice acting, and also again, great music as well. There's some music moments that will still be in my head. Even some general music performances that I'll still stuck in my head. And the mystery itself is pretty interesting. Figure out what's going on with these characters and what's happening, and how did this or that happened. Not mentioned again, the game looks absolutely gorgeous. Like the graphics in all these games are always just so breathtaking and beautiful. Like a lot of the shots are just beautiful, beautiful. And of course, you get one of those 2 moments that end up making me tear up a little bit. Like they always had the good moments, but also having that charming awkwardness, which is something I've always noticed in this game, especially with the dialogue. But that kind of adds to the charm of these games, honestly. You can't be a bit awkward and cringe, but in the best way possible. At least to me, at least. Again, they add to the charm of these characters and add to the charm of the story and what goes on in these worlds. So on the whole, True Colors is a game that I've absolutely adored since it came out, and it's one that continues to get better for me the more I think about it. But for me personally, my number one is still the original. Which, again, if you guys did see my top 50 favorite games of all time, which I think I might release after that video, where I did my top 50 favorite games of all time, you guys know this game actually was number one. This game is my personal favorite game of all time. Because again, like I mentioned before, this is a franchise that means so much to me because I think I actually first played this back in 2018. 18 honestly, I got it for $2 on PlayStation Network, and I thought, why hell not? I never actually played this game before or know much about it. But see how it is. And I was blown away. And I ended up playing constantly since then, and it's a game that continues to get better with me in time. Well, it definitely, I'll say, it's probably a little more flawed than a couple other games. Like, it's probably a little more flawed than True Colors. I think True Colors is probably the most non-flawed game on this, any of these games. But again, we're talking about favorites here. I'm talking about favorites, so on that aspect, the original game, yeah, while it does have its problems, while it does have its issues, the issues that don't really bum that much, or they kind of add to the charm of the overall package. And there's so much I can talk about. I'd rather save for its own video, honestly, maybe at some point. But the charm of this franchise, it has such a charm and setbacks you can expect from this franchise. Again, Devon Mass Caulfield is an all-time great character, in my opinion. Her awkwardness, her relatability, how she thinks and how she acts, like like I said, she's probably my spirit animal. So like, I'm not joking. Like honestly, I'm not joking. Actually, she probably is my spirit animal. And Chloe, again, Chloe is a very interesting character, honestly, and especially how likable she can be at times. But the relationship still between Max and Chloe is still a very strong relationship. So you can tell that despite everything, they do still care about each other. So you do get some pretty charming and heartfelt moments between these characters, and you get also a great world of supporting characters. Some actually you can actually talk, help out with them, and some actually end up, and depending on how and depending how they have it, they actually do end up growing a lot throughout the games. They end up developing a lot throughout the series, throughout all 5 episodes. And again, it also does the mystery aspect following Rachel Amber and what happened with her and all the other stuff, and you really do feel a lot of the emotion that goes on. You really do feel a lot of the passion that goes on with these characters. And you are very invested in the mystery. I remember there were some moments that when I first started, my jaw literally dropped. Like I was like, no way! Like this has some of the most shocking moments out of any game I've ever played. But again, it's always the relatability in this that really connected to me. Like this is one of the few games I can say that actually did help me through a lot of tough times in my life. It's a game that I pretty much adored and haven't really stopped thinking about since I first played it back in 2018. And again, I might talk about it more. I might just make a general video at some point where I talk about why Life is Strange is my favorite game of all time. But there's so much I can really say about this game, honestly. But as of right now, it is still my favorite in this entire franchise. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed me discussing my ranking of all Life is Strange games. Again, a lot longer than I expected, but I still hope you enjoyed. Let me know down below in the comment section how would you guys would rank all of the Life is Strange games. Let me know down below in the comments. Let me know down below. Let me know down below. And again, I have a few Life is Strange videos coming very soon, so stay tuned for those videos coming very soon. I have a lot of exciting videos in the works that I hope you guys can get out, and I hope you guys do enjoy as well. I am Sailor World from Sailor Productions. I will see you next time. As always, stay cool, everybody. Peace.